#1 station.
The following is a paid program. The views and opinions expressed are those of the program sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Spirit 1400 and its management.
It's done unto you as you believe. It's done unto you as you believe.
I'm gonna get there, yes, somehow. Push my way through the crowd. I'm gonna grab you by the hand to a place we will stand. Stand proud, no fear, it's clear. I believe in you. I believe in me. Oh yeah, I believe that we can make this dream a reality. Yeah, yeah. Now's the time to be. Now's the time for miracles. Oh, it's in my heart so deep. 'Cause I believe.
Ah, yes, I believe in me, and I believe in you. I believe that we can make our dreams a reality. Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People on Spirit 1400, here in the beautiful, beautiful, charming city of Baltimore, Maryland. Hope you're enjoying this gorgeous day. A little chilly, but you know what? This is a good day for some chicken and dressing. I know Thanksgiving is coming in a few days, but I've been saving my leftover cornbread so I can make my stuffing. Yeah, it's better when the cornbread is old. It's bad. It's just stale. People don't understand that, but the cornbread just tastes better when it's made from old cornbread. Now I don't put no white bread in nothing that I'm cooking. I can't stand that texture. It tastes nasty to me. I guess maybe because it's the yeast in it, but it just turns my stomach. So I'm from Texas, and we make cornbread, and we don't make stuffing. We make dressing. Okay, there's quite a difference, and so we're hoping you all are getting ready and doing your shopping, already finding them little sales, turkeys, and freezing your greens and doing all things and getting ready. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, simply because you don't have to buy gifts. You just eat and greet and love one another. Please welcome my co-host and producer, Jason Rodriguez. How are you, Jay?
I'm doing well. Peace and blessings, Spirit family, and to those listening around the country, just want to remind everyone we're now streaming live on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube Live. So you'll get to see everyone in the studio in living color, including Patrick Henderson in all of his glory this beautiful Sunday.
Yeah, it is. Not a cloud in the sky. Well, there's so much going on in the world right now. I suppose the biggest thing in our world should be these elections down in Florida and in Georgia.
And election results here, because we didn't get a chance to really talk about it.
Yeah, I've been so depressed since Hogan was reelected. That I told y'all I've just thought about just going and getting in my car and just driving back and calling a real estate broker and having put a for sale sign up on my house after Hogan was elected governor. And there's so many people, I was shocked to find that would support a Republican, who if it had not been for the Democratic control of the state legislature, he would have, and he tried to stop paid sick leave. He also tried to stop the law that would have stopped police from taking your property and your money without charging you for a crime if they stopped you. How many people do y'all know that they took their car and the people couldn't get the car out, the money to come up with it, and they took their cars? How many of y'all know? I know a lot of them who lost that was the only transportation they had, but they couldn't pay it because they impounded their car and sold it. And how many of y'all know people like that? If you live in Baltimore, I know you know tons of them, just like I do. Well, if it wouldn't have been for that democratically controlled legislature, he wanted the police to still be allowed to do that. He doesn't want a $15 minimum wage, which we know is needed. And everybody says, oh, it's got problems here and it's got problems there. I don't care. Still, if people got more money, they're going to spend more money, especially our people. So all votes would have been lifted because people have more money to spend.
And technically, Patrick, the only issue that I could really find with the research that's been done into the $15 an hour minimum wage in Seattle has been that non-skilled workers are having trouble finding jobs. Those that have skills are locked in at the 15 and are doing well.
Okay, all right, I can go with that.
Anywhere between a $50 to $75 increase
in their salary,
in their weekly pay,
which is a lot of money for poor people.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of money, but and so that's interesting. The ones with the skills. So we're talking about now. What are we at the forefront here on Patrick Henderson's Meet the People about vocational training in our schools?
Of course,
to give the kids something that they can grab onto and take with them the rest
job
of their
readiness.
Yeah, job readiness. You know what I mean. So that means we got to prepare for that. But then, like everybody is not supposed to go to college. What about those that do go to college? And because of Hogan taking this HBCU thing all the way to the Supreme, it's going to go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because the lower court is going to rule in favor of the existing lawsuit that says that they did discriminate and did not equally fund the historically black colleges like the white schools. Well, that's what they want them to do, because then the next stop is the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And with this present makeup of rednecks and racists
makeup.
and the president, guess what's going to happen? It's called the Fordyce case. And if they rule and say that that's reverse discrimination and they can't do it, y'all, we are under the creek. Now, these are our Harvards. These are our Yale universities. These are the only schools we could go to because they wouldn't let us go to ours.
Never mind the current makeup of the Supreme Court. We know that Judge Ginsburg just fell recently.
Yeah, but she back at work. She 80-something years old?
Yeah, but there's a question.
I know
she broke a few ribs. There's a question that her, she may not be there too long as well.
Yeah.
And, Trump may have another appointment.
Yes.
And it would definitely be a right
winger.
Yeah.
No, not leaning, right winger.
Yeah.
That court is filled with right wingers. The only thing that's missing on them robes is them hoods on their head.
Yeah.
Okay. And I said it's slow. You look at the Voting Rights Act, all this stuff that's going on now in Georgia and Mississippi and Alabama. That's all because the Supreme Court did stop the Voting Rights Act and changed it so that these people could discriminate.
And Maryland has some of the biggest things to lose or the biggest losses as far as HBCUs is concerned, because we tend to have the most progressive HBCUs. And what I mean by is that most of these schools are not predominantly African Americans that go there.
Yeah, right. A lot of white kids go to these schools.
A lot of white kids. You have folks coming over from Africa.
Yes,
that attend
India.
these schools. Right. So you have some of the best engineering schools.
Yes.
When you look at Morgan State.
Yes.
Maryland Eastern Shore has a veterinarians program that is the top in the country. And those that want to study to be a veterinarian go to Maryland University Eastern Shore. So we have a lot to lose because these are programs that technically aren't being duplicated.
Right. Okay, and that's the only reason those. But Morgan, the engineering classes, which is what they're world famous for, is being duplicated.
Right, but not at that level of excellence. Again, when you look at engineering, Morgan is the top. You can try to duplicate and replicate all you want to, but if you want the top quality education and top quality, there are more engineers that are working in this country that have come out of Morgan State than any other university.
Really?
Yes.
Not more than MIT.
Yes. No. I'm talking about as far as a historically black college is concerned.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not talking about, MIT is a different classification. But I'm talking about as far as HBCUs. There has not been more engineers created out of an HBCU than Morgan State has.
I agree with you. And one thing that you should also note, and Jason said, that it is cross color lines. Indians, everybody, the Africans, Asians, they all run there. But for the last couple of years now, the enrollment of young black people to historically black colleges has quadrupled. So it's not going to be a matter of attendance and them not having money from things, but the funding to be able to facilitate those necessary tools for those students to use the technology and all the things needed to undergird their becoming even greater than they are is being threatened by Larry Hogan, which is what I don't understand. Where did we lose that? But go ahead, Jay. I see you pointing.
One other thing with HBCUs, this week, Nori, our radio host here at Magic 95, interviewed someone from Howard University. I mean, what's interesting is a lot of these students are coming from out of state. That's another interesting factoid on this. Most of the students are coming out of state. As a matter of fact, they actually have a faculty that's trying to encourage more Baltimore City residents to go to Morgan, to go to HU, to go to some of these historically black colleges, as opposed to going somewhere else. So I found it very interesting this week when she interviewed the gentleman from Howard University, that he said that a lot of these students are outside of the state. Right. Coming into
why do you think that might be? One thing is, I really believe that the first year of college, a child should get away from home. I think that they should go and get out on their own and learn what it's like to have to survive and pay the rent and get the food and do the whole thing on their own. I think it's great. But then, even if they want to leave Baltimore, they could go to another city within the state, and especially our athletes, all our star athletes. I wish they would all go to our HBCUs and do their greatness there, because then all that money would start coming to the schools for those programs if they've got the best teams.
And we got to do something about our Bears. I mean, our Morgan State Bears. It's not not the best team.
Well, Coppin has one of the best baseball teams in the nation.
And basketball. Coppin basketball is definitely very competitive.
But the baseball is like number in the top 5. And you go there, and there's like a whole nother different group of people. They're mostly from South American places like that, a lot of them, and Californian places like that. I had a friend who was going to bring his kid to there, and they were worried about Baltimore, and they called me and asked me what I thought, and because they wanted to send him to Coppin. I say, well, as long as he don't leave the campus, he should be pretty good. But they opted for another city because they fear for his safety. But they do have one. But not only the sports, but the engineering, the veterinarians, the communications, teaching, medicine. You know, we have the Baltimore. I'm telling y'all, there's some great. There are great institutions here, and we had those institutions. But there seems to be, and y'all gonna get mad at me because there's an anti-intellectualism. There were, I think they said, 3 Rhodes Scholars who were running for a government office. One of them was Ben Jallis. And instead of us saying, man, this guy is so smart, and he's black and he's a native son, he's been successful at everything he's done, why wouldn't we want to put this brother in there? You got to ask yourself. And then I thought about it, Jay, and I realized I saw the people that were supporting him. And I know some of them got money from Larry Hogan, hundreds of thousands of dollars for their little programs. We don't know what happened to the money. We didn't know. Nobody paid attention to it. All we know is they got it. So that was really buying their endorsements ahead of time. And I'm hearing there's a church here that just built a new senior citizen thing, a pastor that I was shocked.
Through funding that they were able to get through the governor's
office. So then they backed him.
And I hate to call out a few businesses as well. They were struggling and having some issues, and they were able to get help from, no one else other than Governor Hogan, unfortunately.
Well, I understand that. The hand that feeds you is the hand that is the hand.
Is it that, or is it that syndrome that we talk about all the time, that we think that the white man's glass of water is
his ice is colder. Yeah. Well, I wonder about that, Jay. I wonder if that you're great thought there, but I think it has a lot to do with people who don't pay attention to what Martin Luther King said when he said that humanitarian love is a wonderful thing. The only problem with it is that it loves nothing in particular, and we don't love us enough in particular. We won't work with each other. We'll talk about each other. Oh, that N word, think he all this, all that. You know what I mean? I thought I was praying and hoping. Do you know what the Bradley effect is?
I've heard of it before. Tom
Bradley was the mayor of Los Angeles. and he ran for governor. And oh Lord, all the polls were showing he was going to win. He was going to just kill him because he had done a great job in Los Angeles as mayor. Shoot, them white folks got in there behind them polls and voted for the white boy. And so they call it the Bradley effect, where people say they're going to do something because they don't want to appear racist, right? So they go in, but when they go inside that booth, they show who they really are. It's called the Bradley effect. And I was so hoping that was going to happen here, where they would advertise for Hogan, but then go in the booth and vote for Jallis.
Well, actually, it probably did happen, but it happened in an opposite scale.
Yeah,
like, for instance, like what they say might have happened in Georgia with the race down there. You know, and in Florida, you know, they basically did all these robocalls, you know, and basically letting the white community know that we may have a black person running our state, and everybody from the hills to the pig farms to whatever have you came running out to vote to try to prevent that from happening.
Well, you know, she did go into those rural areas, and they know that their health care is threatened. So she got a lot of them, which I don't think Jallis did enough of. And
but they put that battle cry out that, hey,
of course they did, and they're going to take sides for color.
Yeah, there's going to be this end person in office,
which we won't do. We won't do. They say black people voted for Obama because he was black. It wasn't only because he was black. It was because he was supposedly a brilliant man, a Rhodes Scholar, a Harvard graduate,
and a grassroots activist.
And a grassroots activist. Exactly, he had the credentials. So, I mean, how much more
the streets. You saw his shoes.
Exactly.
He had holes in his shoes. He beat the streets way before he came into office, and people forget that.
Yeah, exactly. But we want to say, oh, you can't vote somebody because, no, I understand that. But the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at them because they look like me, in the hopes that they will have the same sentiments as me about our people and the need for us to move as a collective and stop moving as these silos, these independent parties who are threaten and weaken our power by not thinking from a monolithic standpoint about things that pertain to overall things like our children's education. Is that's your phone?
Yeah,
well, you got the old ring.
My fault.
Got that old ring on there.
I
know. I said, Lord, who is that? It's like my grandmama's phone.
But could it have also have been that a lot of folks in the state felt that Hogan was fiscally responsible and wanted to kind of keep that same pathway, even if it meant sacrificing certain things like funding for schools,
but let's look at his fiscal,
$15 an hour.
Let's look at his fiscal irresponsibility.
Right.
Why did he take the money from the lottery and send it into the rural areas, and then short $69 million to the Baltimore schools? The people
That's
say,
because those areas voted for him. When you look at it again, he took 21 of 24 counties, and again, the top ones that were against him again was Montgomery County, PG County, and Baltimore City. And during the first 4 years, we suffered from it.
But he needed it. He needed 25%. He got what, 31% of Baltimore
close
Democrats?
to 33. Close to 33%.
33%. Yeah. So that shows you.
But it was higher than the last time, though. So Baltimore City voted more for Hogan this time than they voted for Brown.
And you know why they did? Because they thought he was a moderate. Nobody bothered to look at the bills that he vetoed, that he was overridden. So
I've talked about it. Matter of fact, there was a few bills that unfortunately he vetoed, and they were talking about even going into a special legislative session to try to override him, but they didn't have enough votes in both houses to be able to override governor's veto, unfortunately.
But the ones that really would have hurt us the most, they did. Like the sick paid leave, like the taking your car.
Anything that was in business, that was related to business and may have been a financial impact to businesses, he vetoed. So when you look at it.
Okay.
So, and that's because he comes from the private sector.
Yeah, right. He's not you're right.
And I don't always agree with Martin O'Malley. I think he's the worst thing, to happen to the state as well as Baltimore City. But when he put that op-ed out saying that Governor Hogan benefited financially more during his administration, that he's gained more financial wealth during his tenure as governor, I think he pointed it out right there what his agenda is. His agenda is pro-private sector.
It is, and anti-union.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. They want that right to work thing.
Yeah.
Y'all, there's deceptive, the name of it, the right to work.
Yeah.
In other words, the right to work with no unions,
Right.
to
Without
collectively
collective
bargaining,
Correct.
to go in there and say, no, you can't do this and you can't do that, and you're going to have to pay them this amount. And every state where the right to work is in place are the poorest states, and they're all Republican, are the poorest states in the union. The right to work states, the people are poor. They suffer because of
well,
the
look what happened in Wisconsin for many years with the educators and the teachers there.
Yeah.
You know, and it got to the point where the educators and the teachers actually had to go on strike.
Yeah, exactly.
And shut the house down.
Yeah,
Remember
well, they just got rid of, what was that sucker's name?
They just got rid of, I forget the governor, but he was a Republican governor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They got him. They got rid of him this time.
Yeah.
So really, it was a blue wave. Nobody. They tried to say don't look like it's a blue wave, but man, it ain't over yet. It looks like a skunking. Trump endorsed 31 candidates for this last election, and 28 of them lost.
Yeah.
28 went to Democrats. So he doesn't have the power. That's the reason he's doing all this stupid stuff. Like yesterday, it rained. He flies all the way over to Paris, gets over there, and don't go to the war memorial of World War One. People all leaders from all over the world for D-Day, and he said it's raining. I can't go. That just shows you how lazy this guy is. But I think he's running scared now. Now that the Democrats have taken over the House, he knows that the subpoenas are getting ready to start coming.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna find out what his tax returns, all of that. And once they see those tax returns, they're gonna see that this guy is not only a scoundrel, but that he has defrauded the government.
I think he's going to try to find every way possible to try to avoid what he can. But from what I understand, we had Maya Rocky Moore Cummings on the DMV Daily program, and she said that they're already waiting to push those 64 subpoenas out the door in the House come February. So he's definitely going to have to account from everything from finances to his business dealings.
Yeah, and making money. He's made millions of dollars. His
children as well. There's some subpoenas in there for his children from benefiting from the White House in the current administration. Which is all conflicts of interest.
Yes.
May have some ethical violations and process.
Wait a minute, though. He fired
Jeff Sessions.
Yeah. Lord, I wanted to get up and shout hallelujah and dance. But
I argued with my partner Hassan about this because he said, "Oh, he resigned." I said, "No. When somebody hands you a letter asking you to resign, you were fired."
The opening statement was, at your request.
At your request, correct.
I am resigning.
Correct.
Hassan, that's what I'm saying. It's like sometimes he bless his heart. We got to pray for that brother. And it's obvious. He says, at your request. Not in my decision. You fired me. You told me to get out of here. But let me tell y'all what he did before he left. The consent decrees. He fixed it so there's a time limit on them. Whereas they used to go until the situation was straightened out, was resolved.
Right.
He fixed it now where it can only go for a certain length of time.
Okay.
Now, why would he do that? He's a major stockholder in the prison stocks. Okay, major stockholder. Everybody knows it. He's not even ashamed of it. This guy is a devout racist. Even his own church denomination, the United Methodist Church, called him a what do they call it?
We were talking about Sessions.
Yeah, talking about Sessions. I'm sorry. Thank you for keeping making that clear. It said, who puts babies in cages? Who could find a reason to take a child from his parent? Did you see the thing, man? I cried last week. They showed these little girls. They brought them back to their parents, and they didn't even recognize their parents anymore. I never forget my mother took us down home, and she used to leave us down there for a couple of weeks during the summer so we could hang out and stuff. And that first
time,
with
your cousins and stuff.
And stuff. And she came back to get us, and we didn't recognize her. She cried. She says, "I'm never doing that again." Never doing it. We didn't get to go. I might get to go a week because she knew I wasn't going to never abandon her. But I was one of the few that wanted to go. My brothers and sisters, they wanted to go, but not like I wanted to do because my granddad, if you was down there, you was going to work. Picking that cotton and doing whatever else he needed to do, feeding the hogs and milking the cows. I loved all that stuff, But them that didn't, she didn't make them go, but I went because I loved it. But she didn't want us to go because the idea that her kids didn't recognize her broke her heart. So you can imagine what those people are going through when they get their kids back or get to visit them and the kids don't even know them. So I just think it's just the most tragic, one of the most tragic things that Trump has done. You know, haven't you heard more about the caravan since the election? Ain't heard a word about it. This man just lies. And what about that the reporter that
they took his credentials from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. And the woman who asked him about racism, and he called her racist from PBS. And then April Ryan, who he can't stand, you know, talking about taking their credentials to work. What would happen, D, if nobody came for his press conferences? Wouldn't that be just wonderful? Okay? Wouldn't that be nobody there but Fox News?
But again, that wouldn't be holding the administration accountable because, again, that's one of the main roles. He ain't accounting
anyway.
That's one of the main roles of the press is I know.
But if he's going to denigrate them when they have a right to be there and going to put them down and send somebody over to snatch a microphone out of their hand, that's against
I thought that was really bold of the intern.
It was beyond bold. Did you see Saturday Night Live last night?
No, I missed it. I know they made it. And then I wanted to watch it, too, because I know that they probably did a skit on Jeff Sessions being fired.
They did. What's the name?
Because at once they were doing the role where Jeff Sessions was unfireable. He was like, I'm not going nowhere.
Right,
I'm not going nowhere.
They had him crawling out of his desk, from under his desk on the outside of it. It was funny trying to stay in there, and then they came in and said, what's her name? Sarah Huckabee. She came in. Well, Jeff has been really real. You got all your things collected.
Right.
Okay. Because you got to get out of here because the new guy is on his way. But that new guy on his way in.
Yeah.
Now, that's a whole nother story. I don't think he's going to get to do anything because he is under investigation by the FBI. So anything that he negotiates or talks about, they don't have to do because he's under federal investigation.
Well, he was the one that was on CNN that actually said how he would resolve the issue with Jeff Sessions. And one of the things he said is that he would pull the funding from the FBI.
That's
and that would kind of chokehold them from having the resources necessary to do any investigation. So why would you bring someone else in other than, to stop?
It's obstruction of justice, man.
Of course.
It's just straight up obstruction of justice. And I say, well, even if he takes his money from all Mueller's got to do is start a GoFundMe, and he'll have more money than he ever could have had. Okay? So they don't need it, but...
I said Sessions really has everything to gain from this because most of the folks that have left out of the White House have done these tell-all books that have become the New York Times bestsellers. So, but I don't feel sorry for Jeff Sessions.
I don't feel sorry for him in no kind of way. Because he's going to
benefit some way.
I think that what we will find if he writes a book is that he will, like those farmers in Iowa who are losing their shirts, whose profits will be down 50, 70, 80% because of the tariffs that have been imposed. They still support get to that point with us that we go, people can come and take our cheerings away from us, still with him. Well, how you get that kind of
and then if anything, what's going to end up happening is if Trump does try to hold them as supporters, he's going to have to look at giving so much government subsidies to uphold, and I heard that he's already starting to do that now.
But he gave $1 billion, but that's not enough. That is not nearly a dime. They were making billions, and now China's going to buy, and they're soybeans from other countries.
And our whole economy is on the shake-up because of the tariffs and the wars that are going on.
And they're still supporting him. That should really give us all pause and wonder, man, how do we get that kind of what is the word for altruistic? It's called altruism. All for one and one for all. Will there ever be a day that black people will be altruistic, all for one and one for all? Are we downtime?
Yeah.
You've been listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. We hope you've enjoyed the show. I know the games are probably on, so y'all, those of you that are listening are the diehard supporters, and we love you and we bless you and we thank you for spending time with us. And tomorrow's going to be...
folks, you got to join us on Mondays now. I call them the three wise men. But we have some great civil rights pioneers and
Marvin Doc Cheatham, Richard Terry, who was the one that helped with the auxiliary police to help get it started. Leo Burrows, and we're trying to get another young gun up in there. I'm trying to get a millennial up in there. So if y'all know anybody,
that might be something to throw out to the audience if they have a young man or young lady that's active in the community and wants to be a part of a great civil rights and grassroots programming,
just give us a call. 410-258-7373. Have them
great
give me a call.
Opportunity to get into
It's
broadcasting.
a great opportunity, and would love to have a young person because we're here. You know, the Bible says that they call the old because they're wise, and they call the young because they're strong. Because no matter what, they're going to carry on when we're gone. So we must be the torch bearers to pass the torch. God bless each and every one of you. Been listening to Patrick Henderson Meet the People on Spirit 1400. See you tomorrow on WLB at 11:30. Bye, Jay. Have a great one. Y'all have a great balance of the day. Love you much.
Do something special for someone other than yourself, family.
Yes. Thank you.
WWIN HD Baltimore, and now broadcasting live on the internet at mybaltimorespirit.com, a Radio 1 station.